She changed my 16-year-old's Instagram bio to Sugar Princess and used my credit card to buy her nightclub dresses. When I confronted her, she smirked and said, "You don't understand how a real woman networks." This morning, my daughter's photos were trending with a stranger's handle. I'm going more than just nuclear. 6 years after our baby girl was born, my wife was sitting on a bus that crashed into a pole, and because of where she was seated, she was the only one that died, and I always swore to myself that I wouldn't date again until Aria was older. I knew I had to be the one that would hear about her first period, her first real crush, and her first heartbreak. So by the time she turned 14, we were more like best friends than anything else. I still don't know how she turned out so well. I never had to tell her to do anything more than once, and she was grateful for everything she had. Honestly, sometimes it felt like she was my role model. It was around this time that I met Veronica. She was the type of woman to laugh at your joke when the rest of the room was silent. And when I realized I had a crush on her, I got scared. I didn't want to confuse Aria in case it didn't work out, but I knew I couldn't be single forever, so I decided to just take things slow and very private. We went on one date a week, and she already knew about Aria because of the photo frame I kept in my office. And on our 1-year anniversary, I finally told Aria about it. "No effing shut, Dad. You're really terrible at hiding things from me," she said. I burst out laughing, and the next week we hosted a barbecue and invited her. I had no idea how bad things were about to get, because they hit it off immediately. Veronica complimented Aria's vintage band t-shirt, and suddenly they were deep in conversation about music I'd never heard of. It felt easy, natural, like maybe I could actually do this. And on our 2-year anniversary, the month was filled with cardboard boxes and moving vans, because Veronica moved in with us. The first week was amazing. Aria had someone to complain about period cramps with, and I could hear them laughing all night. But one Friday, everything changed. I came home from work to find Aria in her room with the door locked, music blasting. Usually she listened to the Arctic Monkeys or Tame Impala, but suddenly that had been replaced by Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. When she finally came down for dinner, I barely recognized her. My sweet Aria had her face caked in heavy makeup, dark smoky eyes, bright red lips, foundation so thick it looked like a mask. She was wearing a dress so short she couldn't even sit down properly. "What's with the new look?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. She just shrugged and kept eating. Veronica and I exchanged glances but didn't push it. Teenagers experiment, right? Except things only got worse from there. Aria was getting dress-coded at school every day, and one day I caught a package in the post from Victoria's Secret and saw that she had spent $300, all her saved-up birthday money, on red undergarments. Then came the boys. First it was Jake from her math class, then Tyler from the debate team. At first she told me they were just friends, and I believed her, but they'd show up at all hours, honking their horns instead of coming to the door. "This isn't like her," I told Veronica one night. "Something's wrong," Veronica sighed. "She's 16. This is what 16-year-olds do. She's testing boundaries." I wanted to believe Veronica was right, but my gut told me something else was going on. Aria had gone from my best friend to a stranger in just a few months, and then came the moment when everything clicked. I was fast asleep at 2 a.m. when I heard the front door creak open. I looked out the window and saw Aria getting into a car I didn't recognize. I didn't even waste time putting on pants, just grabbed the car keys and followed them. They drove to a quieter part of town. Nothing dodgy, just less houses, no streetlights. I turned my lights off and made sure to keep my distance. That's when I saw it. A man who looked like he could be in his 40s, getting out of his car to let Aria out. When I saw him lean in to kiss her, my jaw dropped so hard I could practically hear it crack. I jumped out and ran towards him, ready to beat him until his organs were the same consistency of a smoothie. "Dad, what are you doing?" Aria yelled, as if she was surprised to see me attack him. She then jumped on my back and forced me off of him. "Dad, I thought this is what you wanted." By this point, she was in tears, and even through the anger, I instinctively stroked her hair. The man had driven away, and we were sitting together on the sidewalk. "Now that you have Veronica, you don't need me anymore. I was just trying to find a new man to take care of me when I turn 18. I stared at her blankly, unsure if this was a lie to get her out of being in trouble. But then she continued, "It's what Veronica told me to do. Honey, I could have all the gold in the world, and I would still need you." Once she finally believed me, I ordered her an Uber to my mom's house, because I knew there was no way I would drive safely after hearing that. When I got home, Veronica was already awake and waiting for me at the door. She draped herself over me, kissing my neck, and I kissed her back, because I wanted Veronica in prison, but I knew I needed a confession first. I needed her to admit what she'd done to my daughter, needed evidence that would hold up in court, so I played along, even as my skin crawled at her touch, already planning how I would protect Aria from ever having to see this woman again. I needed to play this smart, so I went along with everything, pretending nothing had happened. The next morning, I told Veronica that Aria had gotten sick at a friend's house, and my mom picked her up. She bought it without question, even offered to make chicken soup for when Aria came home. I called in sick to work and spent the day setting up recording apps on my phone, downloaded 3 different ones just to be safe. Then I called my mom and explained everything. She was furious, wanted to come over and give Veronica a piece of her mind, but I convinced her to keep Aria for a few weeks while I figured things out. That first week was torture. I had to kiss Veronica goodbye every morning, eat dinner with her every night, share a bed bed with someone who had manipulated my daughter, but I kept recording. Every conversation, every phone call when she thought I wasn't listening. She started slipping up pretty quick. Tuesday night, she asked when Arya was coming home, said she missed their girl talks. I told her Arya was still feeling under the weather, maybe had mono. Veronica's face did this weird twitch thing. That's such a shame, she said, cutting her chicken with too much force. I was going to take her shopping this weekend, help her pick out some new outfits for school. I forced myself to smile. Yeah, she mentioned you'd been helping with her wardrobe. Veronica's eyes lit up. She has such potential, you know? With the right clothes, the right attitude, she could have any man wrapped around her finger. It's important for girls to learn their power early. I kept my voice casual. What kind of power? She leaned forward, like she was sharing a secret. The power of being a woman. Men will do anything for a beautiful young woman who knows how to present herself. I'm just teaching her to use what God gave her. My stomach churned, but I nodded along. And you think that's good for her? Of course. You don't want her ending up like those feminist girls, do you? All angry and alone? No, Arya's smart. She knows her looks won't last forever. Better to find someone established now. Someone who can take care of her. I was gripping my fork so hard I thought it might bend. Someone older, you mean? She shrugged. Age is just a number. Maturity is what matters. And successful men, they know how to treat a woman right. Not like these broke college boys who just want one thing. That night I listened to the recording 5 times, making sure I had every word, but I needed more. One conversation wouldn't be enough. The next few days, I started paying closer attention. Found things I'd missed before, like how Veronica's laptop was always open to Arya's social media, how she had a separate phone she thought I didn't know about. I saw her deleting texts from it one morning when she thought I was in the shower. Thursday night, I pretended to fall asleep early. Sure enough, around 10 p.m. I heard her on that second phone. She was in the bathroom with the fan on, but I could still make out most of it. No, she's still at her grandmother's. I know, baby. I miss you too. Just a few more weeks. Yes, I'm working on it. He has no idea. Of course I'll visit soon. My blood went cold. Who was she talking to? And calling them baby? Friday I left work early. Said I had a dentist appointment. Instead, I parked down the street and waited. Around 2 p.m., Veronica left the house. I followed her to a storage unit across town. She was in there for maybe 20 minutes, came out carrying a box. When she got home, I was already there, pretending to work from the couch. She seemed surprised but covered it well, said she'd been grocery shopping, but there were no groceries. And when she went upstairs, I heard her lock our bedroom door. That weekend was rough. I kept trying to get information without being obvious. Asked about her past relationships, her family, her job history. She was vague about everything, changed the subject whenever I pushed too hard. Sunday night, she made a mistake. We were watching TV and her second phone buzzed. She grabbed it too quick, and I saw the caller ID before she could hide it. My sweet Arya, I almost lost it right there. Forced myself to stare at the TV while she excused herself to the kitchen. I could hear her whispering, something about patience and trust and your dad doesn't understand. They'd been talking this whole time. While I thought I was protecting Arya by keeping them apart, Veronica had been in her ear, probably telling her I was the bad guy. Monday, I called my mom. Arya was doing okay, but she kept asking when she could come home. My mom said she'd been moody, spending a lot of time on her phone. I asked her to check Arya's texts if she got a chance. That afternoon, my mom called back, panic in her voice. She's been texting someone named V, hundreds of messages. This woman is telling her you're trying to control her, that you're jealous of her growing up. She's filling her head with poison. I asked my mom to screenshot everything and email it to me. When I read through them, I felt sick. Veronica was systematically turning my daughter against me, telling her I was old-fashioned, possessive, that I wanted to keep her a little girl forever. She kept mentioning how Arya deserved a man who would appreciate her, take care of her, buy her nice things. But there was more. Veronica was coaching her on what to say to these older men, how to act interested but not too eager, how to make them feel special, needed. She'd even sent Arya links to dating sites for sugar babies. Tuesday, I confronted her. Not about everything, just tested the waters. Mentioned I'd noticed Arya had been texting someone a lot. Veronica didn't miss a hit. Oh, probably just her friends. You know how teenage girls are with their phones. My mom said it seemed like an adult, someone giving her advice. Her face stayed perfectly calm. That's concerning. You don't think she's talking to strangers online, do you? I've heard about predators targeting young girls. The irony almost made me laugh. Here she was, pretending to be worried about predators while she was grooming my daughter herself. Wednesday, things escalated. I came home to find Veronica going through my desk drawers. She said she was looking for stamps, but I knew better. She was getting suspicious, probably looking for evidence that I was onto her. That night, she was extra affectionate, made my favorite dinner, wore the perfume I'd complimented once. But I could see the calculation in her eyes. She was trying to distract me, make me lower my guard. Thursday morning, I woke up feeling fuzzy. Not sick exactly, just off. Like I'd taken cold medicine but wasn't congested. I stumbled through my morning routine, barely able to focus. At work, I could hardly keep my eyes open during meetings. It happened again, Friday and Monday, always after my morning coffee, which Veronica lovingly prepared for me every day. She'd bring it to me in bed, kiss my forehead, tell me to take my time getting ready. Tuesday, I pretended to drink it, but poured it into a travel mug when she wasn't looking. Took it to a friend who worked at a lab, asked him to test it. Told him I thought someone at work might be messing with me. The results came back Thursday. Sedatives. Nothing Nothing dangerous in small doses, but enough to make someone drowsy, compliant, less likely to notice things. She'd been drugging me for weeks. I wanted to call the police right then, but what evidence did I have? Some recordings of vague conversations, texts that could be interpreted different ways, and coffee that I'd contaminated by putting it in my own mug. Any decent lawyer would tear it apart. Friday, I made a decision. Told Veronica I had to go out of town for work, would be gone through the weekend. She seemed pleased, probably thinking she'd have time to work on Aria without me around. Instead, I drove to my mom's house. Aria was in her room when I got there, and when she saw me, her face went cold. "What are you doing here?" she asked, crossing her arms. "I needed to see you. Make sure you're okay." She rolled her eyes. "I'm fine. Just trapped at Grandma's because you're being paranoid." I sat on the edge of her bed. "Aria, I know you've been texting Veronica." Her face went red. "So? She's the only one who understands me. You just want to control everything I do. That's not true and you know it, isn't it? You freaked out because I was on a date. A date, Dad. I'm 16, not 6. He was 40 years old, Aria." She looked away. "Age doesn't matter when you really connect with someone." Those weren't her words. That was Veronica talking. I pulled out my phone, showed her some of the recordings. Let her hear Veronica talking about using her looks while she could, finding someone to take care of her. Aria listened, her face slowly changing from defiant to confused. She said she was helping me, that you'd never let me grow up. Honey, I want you to grow up, but at your own pace, making your own choices, not being pushed into situations you're not ready for. She was quiet for a long time. Then, in a small voice, she said you were replacing me, that once you had her, you wouldn't need a daughter anymore. I hugged her tight. "Never. You're my whole world, kid. Nothing changes that." We talked for hours. I told her about the drugged coffee, the secret phone, all of it. By the end, she was crying, angry at herself for believing Veronica's lies. "I'm so stupid," she kept saying. "You're not stupid. She's a master manipulator. She knew exactly what to say to get in your head." That weekend, we came up with a plan. Aria would come home, pretend everything was normal. She'd act like she still trusted Veronica, maybe even get her to admit things on recording. Meanwhile, I'd keep gathering evidence. Monday morning, I brought Aria home. Veronica was all smiles and hugs, telling Aria how much she'd missed her. I watched them interact, saw how Veronica touched Aria's arm, leaned in close when they talked. All the little ways she was trying to rebuild their connection. That night at dinner, Aria played her part perfectly, complained about being stuck at Grandma's, said she was glad to be home where people understood her. Veronica ate it up, shooting me triumphant looks when she thought I wasn't watching. Tuesday, things got weird. I came home to find them in Aria's room, Veronica holding up a dress I'd never seen before. "I saved this for you," she was saying. "Knew your dad wouldn't approve, but you're old enough to make your own choices about what to wear." It was red, shorter than anything I'd ever let Aria wear, with cutouts in places that made me uncomfortable. But I bit my tongue, stuck to the plan. Wednesday, Veronica made her move. I heard her in Aria's room after bedtime, their voices low but urgent. I pressed my ear to the door, heard her telling Aria about a friend who wanted to meet her. "He's very successful," Veronica was saying. "Owns several businesses. He saw your picture and thinks you're beautiful. Very mature for your age." "I don't know," Aria said, playing uncertain. "My dad would cull me." "Your dad doesn't have to know. I'll cover for you. Say we're having a girls' night. He trusts me." I had to walk away before I broke down the door. Thursday, I found something that changed everything. I'd been going through our filing cabinet, looking for anything suspicious, when I found a folder hidden behind old tax returns. Inside were newspaper clippings, printed emails, photos, all about other families, other single fathers with teenage daughters. There was Robert from Michigan, whose daughter Emma had run away at 17. The article mentioned a woman named Victoria, who'd been living with them. Then James from Ohio, daughter Brittany, who'd filed a restraining order against a woman named Veronica. The photos showed Veronica with different hair colors, different styles, but it was definitely her. She'd done this before, multiple times. I made copies of everything, hid them at my office. Then I did something I should have done months ago. I hired a private investigator. By Friday, he'd found more. Veronica's real name was Vivian Marsh. She had a record: fraud, identity theft, solicitation. She'd served 2 years in minimum security, got out 3 years ago. Since then, she'd been moving from state to state, targeting single fathers. But here was the kicker: she wasn't working alone. The investigator found connections to a man named Marcus Webb, late 40s, multiple arrests for soliciting minors, currently out on parole. The same areas Veronica had been, he'd been too. I felt sick. This wasn't just about manipulation or money. This was about trafficking. Veronica was grooming girls for this man. I called the investigator back, told him to find everything he could on Marcus Webb, where he lived, where he worked, what car he drove, because I had a feeling he was the man in the Mercedes. Saturday morning, Veronica announced she was taking Aria shopping. "Girl time," she said, winking at me. "We'll be gone all day." After they left, I tore the house apart. Found Veronica's second phone hidden in a shoebox in the closet. It was locked, but I'd watched her type the passcode enough times. The texts made me want to throw up. Messages to Marcus about Aria, about how she was almost ready and worth the wait. There were messages to other men too, discussing prices and preferences like Aria was a product to be sold. But there were also messages to Aria, hundreds of them. Veronica telling her she was special, mature, deserving of so much more than a boring suburban life. Slowly poisoning her against me, against school, against anything that that might keep her safe. I screenshot everything, sent it to my email, my mom's email, the investigator. Then I put the phone back exactly where I found it. They came home around 6, Arya carrying shopping bags and looking uncomfortable. She caught my eye, gave a tiny shake of her head. Something had happened. After dinner, Arya asked if I could help her with homework. Once we were in her room, she pulled out her phone, showed me a recording. She took me to meet him, Arya whispered. The man from that night, Marcus, said it was an accident, that we just ran into him at the mall, but it was planned. On the recording, I could hear Marcus complimenting Arya, saying she was even prettier than her pictures. Veronica laughing, encouraging Arya to thank him. Him suggesting they all have dinner sometime soon, maybe when Dad's out of town. I wanted to run, Arya said. He kept looking at me like I was something he wanted to buy. I hugged her tight. You did great. This is exactly what we needed. But Veronica was getting impatient. Sunday night, she was irritable, snapping at little things. She knew I was onto something but couldn't figure out what. The sedatives in my coffee got stronger. I was dumping them but acting drowsier, letting her think she was winning. Monday was when everything went sideways. I came home to find Veronica crying on the couch, full sobbing, makeup running, the works. What's wrong? I asked, trying to sound concerned. She looked up at me with red eyes. I can't do this anymore. The lies, the sneaking around. I know you know. My heart stopped. Know what? About my past. About the things I've done. I'm not proud of it, but I'm trying to change. That's why I fell in love with you, with this family. You made me want to be better. It was a good performance. If I hadn't seen the evidence, I might have bought it. But I played along, sat beside her, let her cry on my shoulder. Everyone deserves a second chance, I said. She looked up at me, hope in her eyes. Really? You're not going to throw me out? Let's talk about it. Tell me everything. And she did. Or at least, her version of everything. How she'd made mistakes, gotten mixed up with bad people. How she'd gone to prison, but it wasn't her fault. She was just trying to survive. How meeting me had changed everything. Not a word about the other families. Not a word about Marcus. Not a word about what she was doing to Arya. I nodded along, made understanding noises, said I needed time to process, but that I loved her. The relief on her face was sickening. Tuesday she was back to normal, thinking she'd won, but she was also getting sloppy. Left her laptop open while she showered. I quick grabbed my phone, took pictures of everything I could find. Email exchanges with Marcus, discussing payment and delivery dates. A folder of photos, not just Arya, but other girls too. Young girls in provocative poses, some looking drugged or confused. I found a calendar with dates marked. This Saturday was circled in red with A-Day written next to it. 4 days away. Wednesday I met with the investigator and a lawyer, showed them everything I had. The lawyer said it was enough for a restraining order, maybe criminal charges, but we needed to be careful. If Veronica ran, if she warned Marcus, they might disappear. We came up with a plan. Friday night, when Veronica thought I'd be at a work dinner, police would arrest Marcus based on the parole violations the investigator had found. With him in custody, they'd have leverage to get Veronica to confess. But Veronica had her own plans. Thursday morning, she was extra sweet. Made breakfast, not just coffee. Pancakes with fresh strawberries, Arya's favorite. I watched her like a hawk, made sure she didn't add anything extra to our plates. I was thinking, she said, all casual, maybe this weekend we could take a family trip, just the three of us, start fresh. Arya and I exchanged glances. Where? I asked. There's this cute bed and breakfast a few hours north. Very secluded, romantic. We could reconnect, you know, away from all the stress. Secluded, isolated, no witnesses. Sounds nice, I lied. Let me check my work schedule. That night, Veronica's second phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She kept sneaking off to answer it, coming back looking frustrated. I heard her at one point saying, he's not stupid, and we need more time. Friday morning came too slow. I'd barely slept, kept checking that Arya's door was locked. Veronica made coffee as usual. I pretended to drink it, acted extra drowsy. She seemed pleased, gave me an extra long kiss. Goodbye. Have a good day, baby, she said. Tonight's going to be special. I drove to work, but doubled back, parked down the street. The investigator was already there in an unmarked car. We waited. Around noon, Veronica left the house carrying a suitcase. She loaded it into her car, went back for another. She was running. The investigator called his police contact. Change of plans. They needed to move now. But when the police got to Marcus's apartment, he was already gone. Neighbors said he'd left in a hurry that morning, throwing bags into his Mercedes. I called Arya's school in a panic. She was in class, safe. I told them there was a family emergency, that no one but me was authorized to pick her up. By the time I got home, Veronica was back, acting normal, like she hadn't just tried to flee. The suitcases were gone. You're home early, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. Wasn't feeling well. That coffee this morning hit different. She frowned, came over to feel my forehead. You do feel warm. Why don't you go lie down? I'll bring you some soup. I went upstairs but didn't lie down. Instead, I called the lawyer, told him what happened. He said to stick to the plan, act normal. They were tracking Marcus's car, would find him soon. But I knew Veronica was done waiting. Whatever she'd planned for tomorrow, it was happening tonight. I texted Arya, told her to go to her friend Grace's house after school, tell them she was sleeping over. Don't come home no matter what. Around 4, I heard Veronica on her phone again. Tonight, yes, I'm sure. He's practically unconscious. Bring the van. I grabbed my phone, started recording. Then I did something stupid. I confronted her, walked right into the kitchen where she was making dinner and said, I know everything. She froze, knife in hand. What are you talking about? Marcus, the other families, what you're planning for Arya. Aria. For a second, her mask slipped. I saw the real Veronica. Cold, calculating, dangerous. Then she smiled. You're confused, baby. The sedatives can cause paranoia. Why don't you sit down? I haven't been drinking the coffee, Veronica. Or should I say Vivian? The knife clattered to the counter. How long? Weeks. I have recordings, photos, everything. Police are already looking for Marcus. She laughed. Actually laughed. You think you're so smart, but you're just another pathetic single dad who can't see what's right in front of him. What's that supposed to mean? Aria came to me, you idiot. She wanted this. Wanted someone to show her how to use what she has. You think she's your innocent little girl, but she's been sneaking out for months. I just helped her find better options than the losers at school. You're lying. Am I? Check her room. Check under her mattress. I didn't move. Couldn't give her the satisfaction. She stepped closer. You have no idea what girls her age are really like. What they want. I was just giving her what she asked for. You were grooming her. Selling her. I was teaching her to survive in a world that eats little girls alive. Would you rather she learn from me or from someone who actually wants to hurt her? You mean like Marcus? Her eye twitched. Marcus is a businessman. He takes care of his girls. His girls? How many others, Veronica? She shrugged. Does it matter? They all wanted it. Wanted nice things, older men, excitement. I just facilitated. I kept recording, kept her talking. And the other families? Robert? James? Weak men. Couldn't accept that their daughters were growing up. At least you lasted longer than most. Where's Marcus now? She smiled. Closer than you think. That's when I heard the front door open. Heavy footsteps. Marcus walked into the kitchen like he owned the place. Well, he said, looking at me. This is awkward. I reached for my phone, but Veronica was faster. Knocked it out of my hand, sent it skittering across the floor. Now what? I asked, trying to stay calm. Marcus pulled out a gun, not pointing it, just holding it. Now you're going to call your daughter. Tell her to come home. No, he stepped closer. I don't think you understand. This is happening whether you cooperate or not. But if you play nice, maybe you get to see her graduate. Walk her down the aisle someday. Be a grandfather. Over my dead body. That can be arranged, Veronica said coldly. But she'd made a mistake. My phone was still recording from the floor, and I'd sent Aria to Grace's house, where Grace's mom was a 911 dispatcher. She's not coming, I said. I told her to stay away. Marcus's face darkened. Then we go get her. Good luck with that. I told the school no one but me can pick her up. And she's not at school anyway. Veronica grabbed her keys. I know where she is. That little friend's house. Grace something. My blood went cold. How did she know? I've been tracking her phone for months, she said, seeing my expression. Did you really think I'd leave anything to chance? They moved toward the door, Marcus keeping the GN trained on me. I had to do something, so I charged him. Stupid? Yes, but I couldn't let them get to Aria. We crashed into the counter, the GN flying from his hand. Veronica screamed, jumped on my back. I threw her off, landed a solid punch to Marcus's jaw, but he was bigger, stronger. He got me in a headlock, started squeezing. Black spots danced in my vision. That's when I heard the sirens. Veronica heard them too. We need to go, now. Marcus dropped me, scrambled for his gun, but the sirens were getting louder. Multiple cars. They ran for the back door just as police burst through the front. I pointed which way they went, gasping out their names. The next few minutes were chaos. Police everywhere. Questions I could barely answer through my bruised throat. Someone found my phone, still recording. Someone else called for an ambulance. They caught Marcus 2 blocks away, trying to hotwire a neighbor's car. Veronica made it further, but they found her at a bus station 3 towns over. Aria was safe. Had been safe the whole time. When she'd gotten my text, she'd shown it to Grace's mom, who'd called it in immediately. They'd been monitoring our house, waiting for Marcus to show up. The investigation took months. They found 4 more girls Veronica had groomed, 2 who'd actually been sold to Marcus's friends. Both were recovered safely, though I can't imagine the therapy they'll need. Veronica got 15 years. Could have been less if she'd cooperated, but she insisted until the end that she'd done nothing wrong, that she was helping these girls find their power. Marcus got 25 to life. Turns out this wasn't his first operation, just his latest. Aria and I did a lot of therapy too, individual and together. She blamed herself for falling for Veronica's lies, for not seeing through the manipulation. I blamed myself for bringing Veronica into our lives, but our therapist helped us see it differently. Predators like Veronica are experts at finding vulnerabilities. She'd studied us, learned exactly what buttons to push. The fact that we survived, that we fought back, that's what matters. It's been a year now. Aria's 17, applying to colleges. She wants to study psychology, help kids who've been through similar things. She's dating a nice boy from her SAT prep class who brings flowers and shakes my hand. We still have movie nights on Tuesdays, still hit the farmer's market on Saturdays, but now we also have deep conversations about trust and manipulation and how to spot red flags. She asked me once if I'd ever date again. I told her maybe someday, when the right person comes along. Someone who loves us both for who we are, not who they want us to be. Just maybe run a background check first, she said, and we both laughed until we cried. Because if there's one thing this whole mess taught us, it's that the people who seem perfect are sometimes the most dangerous. The ones who slip into your life so easily, who seem to complete your family, who know exactly what to say and when to say it. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. And never, ever ignore the changes in your kids' behavior. They might be trying to tell you something they don't have words for yet. That's our story. Messy and painful, and not at all how I thought our lives would go, but we survived it together, and that's what family does.